Japanese spiritual culture is a monumental, layered tapestry woven from Shinto animism, Buddhist eschatology, and centuries of folk belief. In this unique system of coordinates, the boundary between the world of the living and the world of spirits, Tokoyo, has always been transparent. Among the countless pantheon of supernatural beings that populate the twilight of Japanese history, two categories stand apart for their chthonic power and their deep psychological resonance: the Oni. Ferocious humanoid demons embodying punishing force and primordial chaos, and the Yurei, unquiet ghosts suspended between worlds by the weight of earthly passions, grievances, and curses. These are not simply fairy tale characters. They are anthropomorphic projections of human fears, human sins, and the existential terror of the inevitable. The word Oni originally carried a meaning very different from the horned giant familiar today. In antiquity, the character, borrowed from Chinese, where it carried the sense of to hide, to conceal, referred to invisible, incorporeal spirits or the silhouettes of the dead that brought misfortune, disease, and natural disaster. They were faceless forces of nature and fate, lurking in the darkness beyond the edges of human perception. With the arrival and consolidation of Buddhism during the Nara, 710 to 794, and Heian, 794 to 1185, periods, the concept of the Oni underwent a radical transformation. They acquired flesh, color, and character, becoming the official executioners of the Buddhist hell, Jigaku. Shaped by imported texts and local mythology, the Oni emerged as massive anthropomorphic monsters with coarse features, savage fangs, wild disheveled hair, and the horns of an ox. Their skin was painted in symbolic colors that encoded specific vices. The red Oni, aka Oni, embodied rage, greed, and unbridled passion. The blue or green Oni, Ao Oni, represented paralyzing hatred, blind cruelty, and spiritual blindness, while black, yellow, and white variants, less frequent but no less sinister, were bound to the five elements and to specific failings such as envy and sloth. The classic Oni depicted in medieval picture scrolls and woodblock prints wears nothing but a loincloth of tiger skin, and this is no arbitrary artistic choice. It is a deep esoteric symbol rooted in Chinese geomancy. The northeast direction, considered the gate of demons, Kimon, through which all evil enters the mortal world, fell between the signs of the ox and the tiger in the Chinese zodiac. Hence the combination, ox horns on the demon's head, tiger skin at its waist. The primary attribute of the Oni is the kanabo, a massive club of solid iron or studded timber, bristling with metal spikes. It symbolizes absolute, crushing physical force against which ordinary human armor and swords are simply irrelevant. From this image arose one of the most famous Japanese proverbs, Oni ni kanabo, give an Oni an iron club, meaning to make an already dangerous and overwhelming opponent completely unstoppable. What makes Japanese demonology unique is that Oni are not merely a separate race of fallen beings. Very often, they are former humans whose souls were deformed by all-consuming emotion. A person possessed by boundless envy, devouring malice, betrayal, or a hunger for vengeance could become an Oni while still alive. The clearest expression of this transformation is the Hannya mask of no theater, its snarling mouth, anguished eyes, and sharp horns depicting the final stage of a woman destroyed by jealousy and unrequited love as she crosses into the demonic. The Oni is, in this sense, a mirror held up to human vice in its absolute form. When the structures of social morality and self-control collapse entirely, the inner demon breaks through. Western terminology tends to blur the distinctions between ghost, demon, and monster. Japanese culture draws precise lines. All supernatural beings divide into two broad groups: yokai, which includes the Oni, are creatures with material or semi-material form, bound to specific places or phenomena, and Yurei are the pure spirits of dead human beings. According to Shinto belief, every person possesses a soul called Reikon. When a person dies, the Reikon leaves the body and awaits the performance of the proper funerary rites, rituals of purification, before reuniting with the ancestors and becoming a protector of the family. But if death came suddenly or violently, if the correct ceremonies were not performed, or if the dying person was bound by a powerful earthly attachment, hatred, jealousy, love, or the thirst for revenge. The Reikon transforms into a Yurei. Such a spirit cannot depart the middle world and remains tethered to the place of its death or to the object of its obsession. The visual identity of the Yurei was standardized during the Edo period, 1603 to 1867, through the development of kabuki theater and bunraku puppetry, and through the work of artists such as Katsushika Hokusai and Utagawa Kuniyoshi. The canon is precise and immediately recognizable. The Yurei wears a white burial kimono, the katabira. Fastened right over left, the opposite of the clothing of the living, its whiteness the traditional Japanese color of mourning and ritual purity at the threshold of the other world. A triangular piece of white paper or cloth, the hitaikakushi, is bound to the forehead. Among the living it was believed to guide the soul upward, but on a Yurei it marks its intermediate, neither dead nor living status. The hair is long, loose, and black. In the Edo period, women wore elaborate lacquered coiffures, and their hair was released only at death. The wild, chaotic black hair of the Yurei, set against deathly pale skin, symbolizes the dissolution of social order and the storm of emotion within. And crucially, the Yurei has no legs. It drifts above the ground, its form tapering and dissolving into mist or pale luminescence, its arms hanging limp from the wrists, expressing submission to fate, or readiness to reach for the living. Yurei are classified by the nature of what kept them in the world. The most dangerous category is the Onryo, the vengeful spirit, the ghost of someone who suffered cruelty, betrayal, or injustice during life. Their rage is powerful enough to send curses, disease, and natural disaster not only upon their specific tormentors but across entire communities. The Ubume are the spirits of women who died in childbirth or left infants behind. They wander near bridges and crossroads, begging passers-by to hold their child, who grows heavier and heavier as stone. The Muenbotoke, souls with no living relatives to perform memorial rites, drift in loneliness and sorrow, rarely aggressive unless disturbed. An abandoned or isolated Shinto shrine lost in a forest of ancient cryptomeria trees is the perfect setting for the encounter between Oni and Yurei, not by accident, but by deep cultural logic. In Japanese religious consciousness, wild, untouched nature is shinen, a divine garden, territory governed by kami and spirits. The mossy, weathered torii gate at the entrance to such a place marks the boundary between the profane and the sacred, between the world of human logic and the world where those rules no longer hold. Tilted, faded torii mark a site that human attention has abandoned, a place that has reverted entirely to the dominion of supernatural forces. The stone lanterns lining the path originally offered fire to the kami. In the mystical landscape of night, their dim warm glow stands in direct contrast to the cold phosphorescent light of a drifting Yurei. The Shimenawa ropes binding ancient trees were barriers of ritual purity, but when those barriers age and fray, spirits move freely across the lines that once contained them. The simultaneous presence of Oni and Yurei in the same space creates a powerful conceptual tension that is at the heart of Japanese horror's philosophical depth. The Oni embodies dense, heavy, masculine earth energy, raw physical force, flesh, fury, bone, and iron. The Yurei represents ethereal, cold, feminine water energy, emptiness, grief, an unhealing wound of the soul, the slow corrosion of the mind by guilt and memory. Where the Oni destroys physically, its threat direct and material, the Yurei operates with far more subtle instruments. It dismantles the mind from within, erodes the will of its victim, and reminds without ceasing of committed errors and the inescapability of karmic retribution. Inga Oho. One is a cliff face of rage, the other is an endlessly drifting smoke of human sorrow. Together they cover every dimension of fear, the fear of bodily destruction, and the fear of losing one's mind. The images of Oni and Yurei have left an indelible mark on world culture. Moving from the sacred texts of the Kojiki and the medieval Buddhist tales of the Kanjaku Monogatari through to the present day, they have penetrated every domain of modern art. Japanese horror cinema, J-horror, with its masterworks Ringu and Ju-on, is built entirely on the archetype of the Onryo. The vengeful Yurei with long black hair falling across a white face, moving in angles that the human body was not designed to form. In anime and manga, Oni appear both as primary antagonists, as in Kimetsu no Yaiba, where the word itself names the monsters, and as protectors, beings who redirect their primordial rage into a righteous force against greater evil. In the art of traditional Japanese tattooing, Irezumi, the Oni mask and the Hannya mask are among the most sought motifs. The belief is protective. A demon on the back frightens away lesser, more cowardly spirits and misfortunes, signaling that the person who carries it is prepared to meet whatever comes toward them without flinching. Conclusion. In the abandoned shrine where time seems to have stopped, the Oni and the Yurei continue their eternal, silent dialogue. The Oni is a frozen cliff of rage, ready to shatter the material world with its iron club. The Yurei is the endlessly drifting smoke of human grief, a reminder that the most terrible prisons and curses are built not in the depths of hell but inside our own minds. Japanese mythology, through these two images, transmits a central existential truth: supernatural horror does not come from outside. It is the extension of human nature itself. The shadow side of the soul that, stripped of harmony, balance, and compassion, is capable of generating monsters before whom even ancient forests tremble and ancient gods fall silent.